My name is Tamir Tillman, and for this project, I chose to explore the life of Henrietta. Henrietta was born August 1st, 1920. She is an iconic African American woman whose cervical cancer cells became vital to medical research. In this video, I will explore the neurological research that was done using HeLa cells. I chose this case because of the strong impact it made on African American history as well as the impact on neurological science. Henrietta Lacks was born in 1920 to a poor African American family. Henrietta spent most of her childhood with her grandfather, Thomas Lacks. They lived in a log cabin that was once the slave quarters on a plantation formerly owned by Henrietta's white great-grandfather and great-uncle. Henrietta would never leave the house without being dressed nice. She had beautiful hazel eyes, and she often wore red nail polish. She also loved to cook. Henrietta grew up in a time of racial segregation and attended a school designated for Black children only. Henrietta dropped out of school to work full-time on a Tabasco farm to help support her family. During this time, she gave birth to the first of her 5 children with her husband, David Day Lacks. In 1950, 4.5 months after her final child was born, Henrietta was diagnosed with an aggressive cervical cancer. Henrietta had no choice but to sought treatment from the only hospital in that area that accepted patients of color, Johns Hopkins Hospital. Henrietta received treatment for 9 months, but on October 4th, 1951, only at the age of 31, Henrietta sadly passed away to her aggressive cervical cancer. She was buried in an unmarked grave in her family cemetery. You would have thought her story would end here, but this was more so just the beginning. During Henrietta's treatment, doctors had taken samples of her cancerous tissue without her knowledge or her consent. Researchers had, until then, been unable to keep tissue samples alive in the lab for more than a few days. This opened up a discovery of something truly unique and amazing. What makes this story so unique and extraordinary is that during her treatment, doctors removed samples of her tumor, as I said, without her knowledge or her consent, a common yet unethical practice at the time. Her cancer cells were unlike anything researchers had ever seen. They didn't die after a few days like other cells. Instead, they kept growing and growing, dividing, and thriving, even in lab conditions. This made them immortal. These cells became known as the HeLa cell line, named after the first 2 letters in her first and her last name. While HeLa cells have contributed to cell cancer research, vaccines, and space science, they also played a critical role in neurological research. Some key contributions include: number 1, understanding cell communication in the brain. Number 2, mitochondrial studies. Number 3, neurotoxicity and drug screening. And number 4, neural tissue engineering. All of these studies have been fundamental in advancing our understanding of how the brain and the nervous system function and fail in disease. Henrietta's family was never informed that her cells were being used worldwide until the 1970s. Scientists had began contacting them for genetic samples. For decades, the Lacks family fought for recognition and control over Henrietta's legacy. Finally, in 2013, policies were implemented requiring researchers to apply for access to the HeLa genome. And in 2023, the family reached a confidential settlement with a pharmaceutical company that profited from HeLa cells. In 2023, the family reached a confidential settlement with a pharmaceutical company that profited from HeLa cells. Today, Henrietta Lacks is honored with statues, plaques, and books. She is a symbol in conversations about medical ethics and consent. Henrietta's legacy is a reminder that Even in death, her cells have lived on. Thank you all for watching. I hope this project helps shine light on the enormous and often uncredited contribution of Henrietta Lacks to neurological science.